Hey everybody, welcome back. So I think
Hi guys, we're back.
I wanted to do an adventure.
We're back, guys. Really, this time we are, for sure.
We're back! A dinosaur story.
We've been gone for so long, you will not believe it. It's now 6 weeks after E3.
No, it's not. It's been 10 minutes since the last video.
I'm from the future!
The PlayStation didn't overheat between videos.
I am from the future. Smappy is not aware of this yet, but I've come back to tell you guys. Fallout 4 is happening. Wait, why are you laughing? Did you already know about this?
Alright, I'm gonna take Gary off and put him on... No.
I have other news from the future. The Xbox One is getting 360 backwards compatibility support.
You know, if it's from the future, you'll also be married by that point.
It depends how far in the future it is.
Well, if you're far enough in the future to be playing Fallout 4.
This is true.
This is true. Oh, burn!
Burn, you're gonna be married!
Oh, it's horrible! Just kidding. Oh, it seems to have made the PlayStation slow down. I can't remember what we were talking about at the last video.
We were talking about my wish list of games and PS4 content and other stuff like that.
I didn't actually mention this. This is exciting for me, but I don't think most of my viewers are going to care. So, I play Wizard 101 off and on, and I just beat Malistaire last night. It was really exciting. He's like the first ultimate boss in the game. He's kind of like, was it Ragnaros in WoW? Yeah, like... So, I actually don't have anyone I play with, because none of my friends will play with me.
I thought Helper played that game
with you. He'll tolerate the game for so long. But, we don't have memberships, so we have to pay by area. And so he's 20 levels lower than me, so, it's kind of complicated, but anyway. So, because I don't play with anybody, and it's kind of hit or miss when you play with random people, because there are some people that are really nice, and they'll say if they're setting something up, like, I'm setting up something, will you help me, or I'm setting it up, don't mess with it, or, you know, and it's really good to know information. And then there's some people that don't tell you this, and you just do something, and they get really angry and all, and it's like, I didn't know, dude. I'm not that class. You know, I don't know everyone's spell from every freaking class, and I can't read your mind. So anyways, I didn't want to deal with that when I was doing the final dungeon in Dragonspire, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can solo it. I soloed it. Took me 3.5 hours to get to the end.
Sheesh.
Hold on, before I continue, let's see. I'm going to leave Puddin behind, because Puddin doesn't need any more abilities, but I'm going to bring Calgram and Galleon. Although, Gary might need a move. I don't know. Actually, let's just go with that. Yes. But anyway, so I got to the very end of the dungeon. Like, literally, I could see Malistaire standing there, and I could not beat the last group of guys. Like, I would barely lose to the last group of guys right before him, and I had to defeat them to get to him. And so I waited an hour, and Helper came back, and so Helper paid to get in the dungeon, and teleported to me. And so it was kind of funny because it took me 3.5 hours to get there, and I'm level 52, and he just pops in as like level 31 or something, and I was like, this is so cheap. You shouldn't even be here, dude. And we ended up beating him. I was a little disappointed, actually, because I don't know if it's just because we were wailing on him so hard, or he was just being a butt, but, like, he was so easy to beat. I think it took, like, 30 minutes, but I was just like, he never became any kind of real threat, and I was like, I must either be over-leveled or lucky. I had to consider myself lucky on several spells, so...
I remember when we used to play World of Warcraft, and, I saw a video the first time that somebody soloed Onyxia. And for those of you who don't play, Onyxia was one of the early raid bosses. It was originally a 40-man raid boss, but it's this giant black dragon that flies around and has whelps that spawn out of eggs and come and attack you. And at least at the beginning, it had this huge long quest chain to be able to even get into it and stuff. So it was most people's like first raid encounter. And by like maybe the end of the first expansion, I saw people duoing it, and then I finally saw a video of a druid soloing on Ixia, and I was just like, I was a druid, and I was like, are you kidding? Like,
yeah, I'm not that cool on Wizard 101.
No, I'm not even close to that. I was like, no way. But yeah, it was just like, that is insane that somebody could solo on Ixia. And then later on, like, it became like a popular thing to do. It was like by the third expansion, or by like the second or third expansion, like everybody was doing it, and then they finally re-released on Ixia as like they revamped her and brought her back as a raid boss for higher level content. And
it's funny though, because people pick on me for playing Wizard 101 because it's a kids game, and I'm like, actually, I've always kind of questioned that because there are a lot of times it's like, I think it's more of a teenager game than a kids game, if I'm gonna call it anything. But I think they try to make it a family game, but there's still a lot of strategy involved in the game, you know. And I'm actually playing one of the harder classes. I'm a balance wizard, but and I've pretty much soloed everything in the game to this point. But it's just, it's funny though. I'm never quite sure. I don't know if people just think it's a kids game because of what they see on TV, and they think, oh, it's just a silly little kids MMO, or it's like they played themselves and thought, oh, well, there's no real fighting, it's just all strategy, so it's not for me, you know, it's not hardcore. I don't know. But
so I've been looking through our videos and trying, like, reading through some of the comments and stuff, like just skimming comments to see if there's anything we need to address. But before we get to any comments, so I went back to the first video. So you know how we talked about when we started this series?
No.
Last video we said, like, maybe it was like 6 or 8 months ago or something.
Yeah.
It's a little bit longer than that.
It's probably been over a year since we started it.
It's gonna be a year in about a week and a half.
Yeah, I thought so. Like, you said months, and I'm like, geez, it felt like a whole year, but I was like...
Yeah, June 26th was when we posted the first video. June 26th, 2014. It's now June 16th, 2015.
Yeah. I'm not the fastest uploader. I'm not like Necroscope86, who uploads like 20 things a day, but...
At least we're consistent, though, this time. Or more consistent.
Yeah.
Like, in the past, we've been, like, really spotty, where it's like, 5 videos this week, none for the next 2 months.
Yeah. I've been keeping it consistent, so...
Yeah, we've been trying to be a little bit more consistent, and it's a bit easier for us, too, because when it's not quite that weird, okay, let's rush to get as much done as we can every time we do it, you know, and when it's much more just consistent, stable, it makes it easier on both of us and our schedules, so...
Plus, it's one of my Saturday morning things is to edit a video while I'm vacuuming. That's why you see a lot of weekend uploads, although I'm going to be uploading early because I got to go to a family reunion this weekend, so... It's the first time I've ever been to a family reunion, so I'm kind of curious on how that's going to work out.
No kidding.
Yeah. I've never seen this much of my family together at once, and I'm not sure my mom has either, actually. It's my mom's side, but it's going to be an 8-hour drive down to the family reunion.
So, the one and only time I went to a family reunion, it was an enlightening experience. So I remember I was hanging out with some of the other kids one of the nights, and I was maybe like, I don't know, 12, 13, something like that. So I wasn't too old. And so I was hanging out with some of the other kids, and it got kind of late, like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, really late, right? and I was like, okay, it's time for me to go back to my family now. So I went back to my family, and we were staying in a tent, actually, on the lawn of the house where everybody was staying at, basically. So there wasn't enough room inside the house. A lot of people had brought tents and RVs and other things to camp in. So everybody was kind of just camping around this house. So the next day is a Sunday, and we all wake up first thing in the morning, and the adults are livid. Absolutely livid, just angry beyond belief. And I'm just confused because I don't understand why. And so my parents are confused too. They're like, what's going on? So finally they find out what it is. They come back to me and they go, do you know anything about what happened to the keg? Excuse you? And they're like, the keg, like the beer keg. And so we had a beer keg at the family reunion. It turns out that after I went to bed, all the rest of the kids, or whoever was awake at the time, decided, hey, the adults have all gone to bed. Let's drink from the keg. Well, so they all decided to get drunk, basically, off the beer. They forgot to close the tap on the keg, though, when they got done. And so all the beer from the entire keg drained out.
Oh, no.
And so the adults all wake up first thing Sunday morning, and they go get their beer. I'm not even kidding. They go get their beer first thing Sunday morning. And there's no beer left in the keg. Because it's all been drained. And all the kids are drunk and, nursing hangovers now. It was just the most bizarre Sunday morning.
Yeah, our family reunions can be nothing like that.
Well, and then it gets even stranger. So you're aware of the fact that my dad's a pastor?
Yes.
And so they found that out at the family reunion. They didn't know that he was a pastor until we got up there. And so we get up there and they're like, Pastor, you got to give us a sermon. Preach, Pastor. Mind you, it's now Sunday morning. They go, but one sec, we need to get a new keg first. So they did. I'm not making this up. They go and get a new keg. First thing, so they got like their red Dixie cups, with their beer in one hand, and they got their coffee can, like coffee tins, on the other side of their chairs. And they have these folding chairs all set up in a garage to have like an impromptu church sermon thing. And the coffee tins are all there so they can spit out their chewing tobacco. And sorry, it wasn't. Some of them did chewing tobacco. Some of them were doing cigars. So it's for the ashes for the cigars. And the way that my dad tells that joke, which this is actually happening, mind you, but the way he tells it, he goes, and that was just the women. It was bad. They were all nursing the exact same disorder. Like there was some nervous disorder that they had in their necks and knees, and they all had the exact same one. And they all they were comparing treatments that their doctors had been giving them for it.
That's funny.
And we suddenly were very, 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 very glad that my dad was adopted into that family. And that we do not share any of their bloodline. Nice people, wonderful people to be around in small doses, but none of us have had contact with any of them since then, pretty much. So I don't have any first cousins. There's a couple of second cousins that we really like. They're cool people. They were not at that family reunion. They knew better. we didn't know better. And so that was our one and only family reunion. We have not gone to any more since then.
Yeah, I actually have a pretty small, because my dad was an only child. And then my mom had several siblings, but they never really... I mean, my mom talks to them, but it's my uncle that she talks to the most, although I have an aunt living near her, but that's another story. But I think this whole thing started actually when your wedding is actually going to be really close to where my uncle is, and I haven't seen my uncle in over 10 years, so I was asking my mom, I said, where is my uncle exactly, since I'm going to be nearby, and I said, maybe I can, take an extra day and go visit him, and of course it was too far, and I was like, oh, dang, oh well. And apparently my mom just got this idea, we should have a reunion, and so she just got this rental house on an island near where they grew up. And she's like, okay, well, whoever wants to come, I rented this house. And so it was originally going to be, I think, 6 people that were going to show. Like, my cousins, my aunt and uncle, and my parents. I think it's up to, 16 people. All of a sudden, everybody's decided they're coming. The house only holds 9. And since there's only... I'm driving and my uncle's driving, and everyone else is flying in, we're having to load up my car with, spare blankets, pillows, the inflatable bed. Yeah, and of course, then she didn't tell anybody that I'm lactose intolerant, so she's like, oh yeah, and you gotta bring your own food, and I said, that's fine. But I'm curious to see how my family is gonna react to that, because they're very southern, so it's like good old southern cooking, so...
Oh, so speaking of milk and milk products and stuff, so when we were at my family reunion, the first day we go to get breakfast, and they have breakfast in the house, and so everybody's getting cereal.
Oh. Why did I want to throw Graham in the water? Graham, go in there!
Come on, Graham.
Come on, Graham. Come on, Calvin. Just jump in. You won't sink. Sorry, go ahead. I thought I had Gary with me.
I can tell.
I wasn't even paying attention.
So my brother and I go in to get cereal, and so we pour the milk on our cereal, and we both take a spoonful, and then we both kind of look up at our mom, and she goes, what? And she can tell there's something wrong, and we both look at her and we just go, the cereal tastes funny. And again, we're pretty young at this point, and so we're not as worldly, not as experienced in the way that things work, and so she takes a spoonful and she goes, give me the bowl of cereal. And so she takes both of our bowls of cereal and just dumps them out immediately. And we go, what? Why did you do that? And she goes, the milk is sour. Like the milk, it was in a fridge, but the milk had gone completely sour. Mind you, so we caught this immediately. We didn't speak up, though, because there were like 6 other people around us who were all happily chewing away on their cereal that was from the same milk jug.
Ew.
And had no problems whatsoever. And we were just like, my brother and I didn't think much of it at the time, but in retrospect, like looking back on it now, it's like, wow, that's a little bit unusual that they had no issues whatsoever with what was very, very sour milk. I mean, it wasn't like goat's milk or something. I've had goat's milk before. This was not goat's milk. This was just plain old sour milk. But I guess some people like curdled milk in their cereal. Anyway.
Yeah, I have nothing interesting to talk about anymore. I mean, like,
nothing interesting.
All I've been doing is playing Wizard 101, and I've kind of had enough of that. And I just started playing the new Earthbound game, actually. It was freaking awesome. The intro was freaking awesome. I'm not going to give it away if anyone's going to go play it, but I was just like, screaming like, yeah! Within the first few minutes of the game. I was like, this is so Earthbound.
So going back to the comments, I was looking over the comments, like I said, and I noticed one got upvoted. Let's see, what did it ask? It asked, Suikoden 3 Let's Play? It's from Kaiser.
Yeah!
It was a question from him. And so that's probably a reference to the fact that we did mention that we have in fact been playing Suikoden 3, that we've beaten the main storyline. There's like one extra thing.
You literally have like 10 minutes left to the game.
Yeah, and we've put it down for the last 2 months because we both have been busy, and we're going to get back to it to finish it at some point.
Yeah.
So I think the big announcement we have regarding that is...
Yeah, I definitely... I want to do an LP of Suikoden 3. Of course, if I could do anything, I'd just jump to 5, but... Yes, I do plan to do 3, but I'm not doing 2 major LPs at the same time, and I consider this and Suikoden 3 to be major LPs. Now, I might do a smaller one in between, like when Icon is at his wedding, but I know that I know Icon's pretty popular for voice acting too, so I'm not going to do Suikoden 3 without him unless something huge happens, like his new wife says, no LPing, so...
I'm pretty popular for voice acting. Do you hear that, folks?
Alright, enough of this. I need to remember the button to...
You heard it here first, folks. The Suikoden 3 LP may or may not happen at some point in the future.
Well, there is a good chance it's going to be the next major LP I do.
You heard it here first, folks. Suikoden 3 LP will be happening immediately in the future.
You're a butt.
Next week.
Jeez, yeah.
We're starting it right now. Smappy
I'm loading it up on my other PlayStation 3. I got 2 sitting here.
Smappy is dual capturing the systems right now.
I don't. I have 2 HD. You can listen to me talk about another game and watch a different one.
That would be kind of awesome, actually. If we had like dual games going on and recording both games, and we were talking over both of them simultaneously.
Oh my gosh!
And you could like switch between channels and like see the 2 games in sync with each other.
That would be so complicated.
But it'd be kind of fun. You gotta admit. You gotta admit that would be kind of like, I wouldn't want to be the person who edits those videos, but
yeah, I don't want to be the person who edits those videos either. But I know I would be.
It would be kind of fun if somebody like Google a while back did a YouTube concert where they had multiple cameras going and you could switch between the cameras dynamically in the video.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but
yeah, I don't know if they let normal users do it or not. But it was a neat idea. But I was like, that'd be kind of cool though if we did that, like multiple streams going on simultaneously, with us both playing games side by side or something like that. Be kind of fun.
This is going pretty well here.
Oh yeah, we're going through dungeon. That's right.
Yeah, we are. Ever so exciting. Next dungeon. Byron. He's sleeping.
Hey, got a question for you.
I have an answer for you.
I'm so glad. Well, in that case, I'm going to change the question to something ridiculous. No. So I was at an after-work social event thing for work today, as you're aware. But as the
you told me that you were going to be early off work because of it. That confused me.
Well, yeah, I had to. So yeah, it started at 5.
Anyways.
Anyway. So somebody and I were talking about video games, and he has a PS4, and he wanted to know about. He's like, well, I kind of like Skyrim and games along those lines. He's like, do you have any recommendations along those lines? I don't have a PS4 though, and he only has a PS4, and he was curious if there was anything else in those veins. I know that you've played Skyrim, right?
Yes, Skyrim was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I love putting pots on people's heads.
Who doesn't? I mean,
well, you could put a basket over the shopkeeper's head and then rob him blind while he was blinded by the basket.
I think I had heard about that actually.
I did it all the time. It took a little practice to get it right, because especially on a console, it was a lot harder. But I got pretty good at it. But you always knew the basket fell off because he'd catch you.
As long as you're not shooting arrows into people's knees. But anyway, I was going to ask you if you had any recommendations for somebody who is in that sort of game, or into that sort of game. What would they get if they were on a PS4?
Like I think I just mentioned, I only have 3 PS4 games, and I don't play a lot. I know there's an Assassin's Creed game for it, and Bloodborne's out for it, and I think there's some other where you just kill a bunch of people games, but honestly, he might like Dragon Age Inquisition, because...
Well, that's a good suggestion, yeah.
It's not that first person run around in grief and do stuff. I mean, you have a team with you, but it's still, kind of the same genre, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's still, I guess, an American RPG.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's an open world RPG. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I forgot about that. I should have remembered that one.
It's open, yeah. Yes and no on being open world, because it's like areas are huge in Inquisition compared to the other 2 games. So you can once you unlock the area, you can run around the area to your heart's content. And then you go back to your castle, and then you can unlock a different area and run around to your heart's content. And then the expansion that just came out for the PlayStation a couple weeks ago is a whole new area we can run around and do stuff.
All right, but so it's a Western RPG though. That's safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what Lucky Star even is. If it's worth getting rid of Big Lung. But yeah, I mean, my PlayStation 4 annoys me actually. It's like the PlayStation 1, good. PlayStation 2, great. PlayStation 3, one of my favorite consoles of all time. PlayStation 4 was a complete it was just screaming social media. There's a button on it to upload stuff. Mm-hmm. Who cares? So that really angered me. And the giant weird touchy button, I think they added without really thinking it through, because I have no games that really use it well. And they're like, oh, you can use it to type in stuff, and it ends up being more of a problem than it solves. It's like trying to be cool like the Wii, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, the touch thing always struck me as kind of odd.
Yeah, none of my games use it. They just use it as a button on all the games that I've played. And I'm not saying that's a problem, because it's a pretty big button, but it's just, I'm not entirely sure what they were after there. I don't know if they were following in their own footsteps with the Vita, with the whole back of the thing is touchable. I'm not entirely sure, so...
So speaking of controllers, did you see the new Xbox One Elite controller?
No.
So Microsoft announced a new controller yesterday at their conference.
Does it do anything?
It's wireless.
Ooh.
I know, right?
That reminds me of the story I gotta tell you in a minute.
Okay, so anyway, they announced this new Xbox One wireless Elite controller. I mean, it looks... At first glance, it looks like a normal Xbox One controller, but it's fully customizable. You can swap out the D-pads, you can swap out the analog sticks, for different grippiness or different domes or different things you want on them. The D-pad can be faceted rather than look like a cross. Anyway, what's interesting though is on the backside it has 4 paddles. So the idea is being that your index finger and stuff like that, or your pinky and ring finger, middle fingers, normally they're just not used on these controllers. You can use those instead, and what it does is it frees up your thumbs basically to stay on the 2 analog sticks, or to stay on the D-pad and the analog stick, rather than having to be pressing those X, Y, A, B buttons.
That's the same problem I have with another controller. That's the same problem with the PlayStation controller, and I stick it on my lap and 4 million buttons go off.
Well, they like it. Anyway, but on the good side for you then, because apparently you don't like this idea, which is fine, I don't have a problem with that, the controller, guess how much it costs? Mind you, it's called the Elite controller.
It's probably $100.
Keep going.
Oh gosh, you can get a Nintendo for $100.
It's $150.
Jeez.
A controller. Like, mind you, I'm aware of the fact that there are high-end controllers, like custom controllers and like specialty controllers, but to have one produced by like, you know, Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft, that's $150. Like, seriously?
It's because they know they have nothing else to sell.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch Microsoft's press conference, but I looked through the highlights afterwards, and I was just like, that's it?
So, anyways, I'm going to have to cut the video here in a minute if this goes any longer. But, so, this weekend, Helper had some friends from... He's got a friend at work that comes over every so often and watches us play video games. Because he's not allowed to play video games himself by, you know, his wife said so. But so he comes over here and watches me play video games. But, his daughters came into town. They're like 10 and 12, and so he brought them over to meet us. And they, of course, they like freaked out by all the stuff that I have in my house. Like, I have a lot of games in my house, and they were asking me all these questions about a Mario game, and because they all thought I play video games, I must know every game. And so I was like, oh, you know, you're describing like the one Mario game I haven't played, which was the Mario 3D World for Wii U. That one never interested me. And I was like, you know, I never played that one. So they were talking about it and stuff, and then I brought up the question, have you ever played the original Mario? And the answer was no. And I go, oh my gosh, so you've played all these other Mario games, but you've never played the original? And they said no. And I said, well, if you're going to play the original, you got to play the original. And so I actually have a remake of the NES. That's all it does is play NES games. And because my original Nintendo is pretty much dead. It's had enough moving. And so I pulled out my remake Nintendo, and I have the original cartridge back from the 80s, and I stuck it in. Of course, I had to blow on it a couple times, which amused them. I didn't even think about it. I just started blowing on it to get the dust out.
Of course.
And I plugged in the controllers, and I handed it to them. And it didn't work quite well, because they didn't understand it, so I was like, okay. And they hated the graphics. And so I was like, alright, I can fix this. So I actually have... On the Super Nintendo, I have Super Mario All-Stars, just 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull my Super Nintendo out, and I hand them the controllers. And, actually, the funny thing is, when they were playing on the NES, they said, where are the other buttons? And I said, what other buttons? They said, there's only 2. And I said, yes, there's only 2. And so when I handed them the Super Nintendo, they said, oh, okay, well now we've got 4 buttons. And I said, yes, you do.
You're still going to use 2 of them.
And, dang it, I was trying to switch him out, and he went too fast. And so anyway, so then they start playing Mario 1. And they got real frustrated with it really quick. They just could not do it. So then they went to Mario 3. And they got frustrated with that. And so then they went to Mario 2, and that's the one they played the most.
Wait. Which Mario 2 is it with All-Stars? Is that the original Mario 2, or is that the, like...
not the Lost Levels. Like, the
okay,
Mario 2 with Toad and
American.
Princess.
Yes,
the American. Yes. Sorry, my audience is American. I'm going to aim towards that. Well, the majority of my audience.
I was saying we have enough knowledgeable people in the audience. I just want to make sure we were clear on which one we were talking about.
Anyways, and this is when it got funny. So they're playing 2, right? And one of them, it's just all of their comments made me laugh. At one point in 3, I picked up the shell to show them they could pick up the shell. And they're like, oh my gosh, you could pick up the shell? You didn't tell me that. And I said, well, you didn't ask. And they all got frustrated with me. And she goes, how did you figure this out back in the day? And I said, it came with an instruction manual, and it told you these things. And if it didn't, then you figured it out. And that was the fun of the game, was to figure it out. And so then there was one part in 2 where they fell down a hole. And she was jiggling around in the hole. And I said, what were you trying to do? And she goes, the wall jump didn't work.
Wall jump.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought to wall jump in an original Mario game, because I played them so many times. And that one got me. And then, of course, after about an hour of playing, they said, do we need to charge the controllers? And I said, excuse me? And she goes, the controllers. And I go, it's a Super Nintendo controller. It's wired in. It's okay. And, like, and the look on her face, she's like, I don't have to charge it? And I'm like, no, you can just keep playing. But you can't sit on the couch and play. The cord's not that long. But
Yeah.
It was just all their comments were just so funny. You know, they were like, "When do I get the cat suit? You don't get a cat suit." You know, it's like, "When does this happen? When does that happen?" It's like, "It doesn't." You know, and it was just the wall jump one got me the most. And I said, "Actually, I don't think they introduced wall jumping until Mario 64." And she goes, "What's that?" And I go, "We're not getting into that discussion."
They've never played Mario 64?
They hadn't. I think the earliest one they had played was on the Wii.
So they never played Sunshine. Well, I can't blame them on that one, but...
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't blame them on that one either. But, you know, it's just, it was funny because I guess growing up on later Mario games, you know, when you go back, it's like, I guess I could see it being frustrating. But since I grew up on starting with the original and moving my way up, but in the end, they got frustrated with it, so I put in Mario Paint, and they went on for hours on Mario Paint.
So, the original Super Mario Brothers was my very first video game ever. I still remember to the day, or not to the day, but I remember the moment when I saw it for the first time. I remember it was on a giant projection TV. This is a projection TV, not a projector. These were projection TVs.
Yeah.
They existed back in like the late 80s, early 90s and stuff. I mean, well, they existed probably before and after that too, but this is when they were a big deal back then. And we were at the principal for my school's house. We were visiting him, kind of as a social thing. And his son had the console, and he was older than my brother and I. I think I was 7. And he pops in the game, and he's like, "Here, have fun." And he walks off to go back with the adults. And we're just thoroughly confused. We keep running into the Goombas and not knowing what to do. And then we jumped over the Goombas and didn't know what to do. And we're like, "What do we do? We just keep running into them." And he eventually had to come out and like show us, you can jump on them. And we're like, "Oh, you can jump on them." Never even occurred to us to do that.
Yeah, my first video game... That's a good question. It was either the TI, whatever it was, I can't remember the name of the console, or Commodore 64, or some game on one of those. But anyways, I'm going to end the video here because it's been long enough. So we'll see you guys next time when we don't go back to the jungle. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.